Matty Durant, aka Mattystuntz, left the hobby for a year and a half. He has come back now. During that time that he was gone, he didn't participate in FPV culture at all. He did not check the Facebook groups. He didn't do anything. Didn't watch YouTube. Now that he's back, he's shocked. The division, the tribalness of our community, we're completely divided. And he would like to try to help heal that. He, interestingly enough, maybe one of the few people that could have an impact on that. I know that I've tried to have an impact on that, and it's extraordinarily difficult. I would love to see the FPV community whole. But I'll let Matty tell you his story, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. So you're gone a year. And I think this actually plays into mental health to a degree. You're gone a year. You come back to Facebook, maybe YouTube. What do you find?
Buddy, I never open up my Facebook. I never ever open it up. I don't have time for it. I might open up Instagram when I'm on like taking a poop or something like that, right? Yeah. As soon as or if I'm posting stuff about my kid, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm back into it. I'm opening up Facebook. I'm kind of seeing, I'm looking at FPV posts. And this is the thing, man. With having Bodhi, I really want to get him into this hobby. Like, I think it's a good bonding experience. Like, I'm going to get him into, like, for sure he needs to play a sport and learn teamwork, right? He needs to play some type of instrument, and he needs a fun hobby. And I really want to introduce him to flight, right? Whether it be flying airplanes, like real airplanes, or flying drones. RC stuff. I mean, when I was a kid, that's all I wanted to do with my dad was race this RC-10. It's a little car, like doing dune buggy cars back in the day. Yeah. And fly the airplanes and stuff like that. And I just remember it was a good bonding experience. So like for me, for bonding with my son, I want to be able to show him this tremendously fun hobby that I think is fun. He might not think it's fun, but we'll find something else. But I want to introduce it to him. And because he's going to be around it so much, he's probably going to get into it. But what I noticed, man, is I started opening up Facebook and no one had anything good to say about Rotor Riot for some reason. And I kept on seeing these posts and I was just like, because the thing is, I personally know Chad. And we've done unrestricted and all that stuff, but like I never went to the degree of like being his team pilot and all that stuff. But like I just know him as like a person and a buddy. And I'm like, and I know Drew really well too. And Drew's coming to my house. I've invited him into my family. You know, he was able to stay with me for a little bit, and we went flying. And these two people are like two of the people in the hobby, other than like Chase from Rebel, that are outside of my town, that I communicate with all the time, right? And I just saw there was a lot of negativity revolving those people. And when I left, it was still a team black for drama wise, I don't want to bring up anything bad or anything like that, but like it was an ethics and TBS, Steel and Trappy, and all the old pilots against Rotor Riot. Yeah. And then fast forward almost a year and a half, and it's still that. There's still bickering amongst themselves. There's still these Facebook pages, which I think are tremendously toxic for even the industry. And they're just, people don't have anything better to do than to just bring these people down. And I know that like you can't have fans. You can't win everyone over. Sure. I know this just from being in sales. Yeah. No matter what, it doesn't matter how nice I am, someone might just not like the way that I look, or that I'm a visible minority, right, or whatever. You can't win everyone over. And and Rotor Riot has a big following, and you can't win everyone over, but it definitely seems like it's like you're either with them or not. And when you're not, all you're trying to do is dig up things to belittle or to undermine or to disrespect or to have a negative comment or to have this toxicity. So anyways, I was like, man, I posted the other day, I'm like, I just hope that I'm never going to have my son Bodhi. And I know you were saying before we started talking that your kids aren't going on Facebook until they're 18.
No.
And I'm definitely going to look into that. I think it's very important to have the computer sciences as an education for the youth nowadays, but definitely totally monitor it and make sure that they're not on these social media sites, having phones that are blocked from the social media sites are totally going to be something that I look into. But I would never want him to be interested in this hobby and then go into these pages and see all this negativity. Like it brings your day down. And I think that's the biggest thing I notice is that the community is very, very divided right now. And I would love to try to bring people together or make it better if it's even possible. Like I totally had a chat with Jennifer from Brain FPV. I had a chat with Chad. I had a chat with some other people that are part of the Rotor Riot community group. And
the Rotor Riot official community.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, I think that page needs to be shut down, man. Like there's just no need for it, man. There's just no need for it. Like I even told Chad, I'm like, Chad, you gotta think about trying to shut that page down. And like I guess there's been efforts, and I think that it's going to be a bad day when it does, if it does, because they're going to be like, why did you do it? And there's going to be a lot of backlash on it and a lot of negativity towards Rotor Riot, but it'll help everyone in a whole. It'll probably bring more people in and talk about more positivity in the hobby, and then what Rotor Riot needs to do is just not talk about the subject anymore. Just keep on doing their thing, put their head down. If their team pilots are out there, you don't say anything. Like I saw Josh Bardwell post the other day, and I thought it was pretty funny. But if he employs in a way, an employee to Chad, I would pretty much tell my employees, listen, don't go on your social media and talk about anything where you think people are going to get a rise out of it or question you about these things. And if you want to do it, then you got to run it by me. Because right now, it is an over-counter stock, but they're now a publicly traded company. They have, they do have a responsibility to make content that's safe and family orientated, and I definitely, like I told Chad, I'm like, those are two things you need to do. You need to get that any negativity toward like the official community group needs to be shut down, and then no one releases anything, and just plug away, put your head down, don't respond to people because that's what they're waiting for you to do. Don't make a video saying, okay, well, this is why we did the bridge dive, because that was back when I was still there. Whatever. I think that now it's the FAA thing and how they're teaming up with Red Cat and how they make this is the thing. So I see people. Listen. Yeah. 1 sec.
Go ahead.
Really quickly. I see people and they're like, Rotor Riot is working with the bad guys and they're trying to bring all these rules in, and they don't realize that Chad's livelihood, what he's trying to bring home for his family counts on if there's a hobby. Okay? He's not going to get rich by working with Red Cat. And they have like a possible shot of maybe doing all, I don't even know what they're trying to do, but it's not in their best interest to shut the hobby down. This is what I don't get. Like this is why those forums are so just out there, because they're just babbling about stuff that's not true, disinformation, and it's a lot of negativity.
Yeah.
And it's starting to make people think like conspiracy theorists, you know?
Yeah, it's the conspiracies are starting to come out. They're starting to show up. Like it, there's always been, so let me back up one moment. I got, over the past week or so, I've been getting kind of more and more agitated and frustrated, because the only way, we've got this FAA thing hanging over our head, right? And the only way that we as a community, and I don't just mean like Rotor Riot or FPV, I mean like FPV and model flyers, and like anybody that has an RC aircraft in the air. The only way that we can try to figure a way around this FAA thing and maybe change it is by banding together. Yeah. And, over the last week, I've just been getting more and more frustrated. And finally today, I kind of gave vent to my frustration a little bit. I released a satirical video, and basically said that I was going to, I was going to take this channel, and instead of trying to build up the hobby, I was going to try to tear it down and have FPV death matches and have, like Trappy versus Tyler. And, I went through this list of people that I was going to have on, and, most people actually got it as a joke because it was totally 100% satirical. A surprising number of people did not. And they were like, this is the best idea ever. I can't wait to see it. Maybe they're responding with, the same level of sarcasm that I put it out with, which is
right.
100% possible. But I guarantee that in some of those responses, people are like, hell yeah, this is going to be great. But I've talked with a lot of the guys, I'm part of that group that you mentioned. And I tell Lance and I tell Seth on a regular basis, I'm like, there's a problem here. And, I talked to a bunch of guys in that group. Individually, most of those guys are actually pretty fun to talk to. But now the conspiracy theories are starting, where it's like, oh, well, Red Cat bought Rotor Riot, and Rotor Riot's in bed with DJI, and they've been planning the FAA thing out so that DJI systems are going to report back to the FAA via Red Cat monitoring, and it's like, hold on, time out. Can we all just apply some critical thinking to this right here? Like, why would Red Cat buy Rotor Riot with the intention for a significant amount of money? I think in the release, it was like 2.6 million with the intention of destroying. Go ahead.
I'm taking up a position on Red Cat.
Okay.
Yeah, I am. I did a pretty good trade there with Tesla when it went to 330. I bought a pretty big position in Tesla and then sold at 525. Nice. And I'm going to use a little bit of that to take a position up in Red Cat because it's, at this point, it's profit. But I honestly, because I know how Chad is work ethic wise, and I know that this is all public knowledge, but he got paid in shares, so it's in his best interest for Red Cat to go up, and I think that he'll do that. And I definitely I'm going to take up a position in Red Cat.
So I mean, the whole conspiracy theory thing is it kind of concerns me a little bit because unfortunately, like it is. I think once you start introducing conspiracy theories, then you have to legitimately acknowledge that the health of the community is not good. That there's a problem, and you need to sort out where that problem's coming from, and you need to try to deal with it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean shutting voices down. That doesn't necessarily mean, in my opinion, like shutting groups down. I mean, look, there's groups in our industry that are, and not just, FPV, but overall drone flying in general, where they talk a lot of shit and they do a lot of shit posting. But it all stays in the group. It doesn't spill out into other areas, right? It's kind of like a place. There's a few places like this where it's a place for people to kind of go decompress about idiocy. But then once they leave that group, it's people put back on a professional face, right? And I think that, like, some of the stuff that comes out of, say, the Rotor Riot official community group, for instance, some of it's actually pretty funny. Some of it's not. Some of it's pretty brutal. The fact that now we're starting to see conspiracy theories popping up all over the place about how this group of people or that group of people are in cahoots with the FAA and they're trying to shut down the hobby, and it's all you have to do is just apply a little critical thinking to why would Red Cat buy Rotor Riot with the intention of shutting down the hobby that Rotor Riot serves. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, as a business move, someone without any business experience whatsoever can look at that and say, that makes no sense, right?
You also have to remember, they were talking to Red Cat for like a pretty long time before this, before all this FAA stuff was coming in.
This whole thing's been in the works for like a year.
Yeah, a year. I think that's what they were saying. So it just doesn't make sense. Anyways, honestly, you should still be able to voice your voice, but when it's an actual group name after another group, and then all that bad stuff goes in there, I don't think that should be right. I don't think that group should be around. If it was my own company, I would literally get a lawyer to take it, and I would go to Facebook and I would tell them to bring it down, because public image and defamation of character and all that stuff. I don't know. There's just too much of it in that. That's literally, I had to quit the group because before I joined it, and I thought it was just the Rotor Riot group.
Yeah. Because they had taken the name.
Yeah, and then like I literally was just opening up my Facebook, and it was just something that would just drag my day down. And I'm not that person. And I like to stay on a high, and when I wake up in the morning, I play with Bodhi for a little bit, get him to smile, and I'm leaving the house on top of the world. You know what I mean? It's I don't like opening it up and then seeing something negative. So I try not to follow the news, but I feel like I need to for the industry that I'm in, the investments that I own, and I need to know if there's wars or if there's anything political going on with certain investments, how our real estate's doing, how the banks and all that stuff. So I kind of have to follow it, but I try not to, like, if I see something that it is not, I don't need it to relate to anything, then I just don't click on it, because I just think there's already too much shitty stuff going on in this world. But definitely even. That's why I posted a picture of my kid in the Rotor Riot, the actual Rotor Riot forum, just to try to get some good vibes out there. Like how many, all I said was how many other dads are out there. And you know how many dads messaged me? And like, it was like one of those things where I saw so many dads, and I was just like, they're having so much fun with their kids. And that's what really got me. Like, I'd see all these notifications on my phone, and now it's like, because we all know Facebook, it's like a known fact. If you are looking for drama, Facebook's going to give you drama no matter what. Yeah. It's like, it's an actual thing that they said, yes, it does exist. There's algorithms out there where it's going to point you in that direction. So now I start seeing like happy stuff, and it's almost like I switched the Facebook algorithm where I was like seeing good stuff. And I think that's how it should be. I mean, I know I've had my beefs in the past, and I know I've had my I've said stupid stuff, and I'm sure that Rotor Riot hasn't always done good stuff, and I'm sure TBS and even Get FPV back in the day, it used to be Get FPV. It wasn't Rotor Riot. It
Yeah.
was Lumineer and Tim Nielsen, and it was like he kind of snuck under the radar, but I mean, he's no, yeah. I don't know. I think that the way you can, like I said before, you can make a mistake, but it's how you fix it and how you learn from it and change from it. So, I mean, I would like to see Rotor Riot doing well because I'm friends with Chad. I want to see him be successful. I want to see his family be successful and the people that he works with. He employs people. He brings more people into the hobby, and yeah, it just sucks. I don't know. Like I know everyone says, oh, every hobby has their drama and all this stuff and the clickiness and people that aren't gonna like different groups. But I have never seen it like this in this type of hobby. And I've done a lot of hobbies. Like I was into stunt riding, airsofting, FPVing, playing guitar, hockey. Like I've never seen it this bad. Rollerblading back when I was rollerblading in those days. So I don't know if it's just the technology we have nowadays with Facebook or if it's just like a shift in like society, how like people just want to be miserable and like do people not have anything else better to do than to post like stuff like that? Like go do something constructive, make yourself better, make the community better, or just go build something, watch a video, do something, interact with your friends or family. But putting up a post and then sitting there waiting for people to comment on it, and then just this whole like riot mentality of chaos mentality of just feeling this anger and negativity and toxicity. I'm not about it. So I'm gonna definitely, I don't have that much time in my day to dedicate to that, but I am gonna definitely try to help out in a certain way, even if it means taking an hour a week to try to troubleshoot with people and talk to people. I mean, we all know there's certain people out there that are really voicey on the subject, so maybe talking to them, and I've already kind of put my feelers out there to some people and seeing where they stand and maybe educating them, because maybe they don't know maybe they've heard something through the grapevine that is completely not true. Like Red Cat and Rotor Riot are trying to stop FPVing and they're working with the FAA. Like that's just craziness. It's craziness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, in general, like, you've been in the hobby for quite a while. Taking a break, coming back, you feel like the community around FPV is worse?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Definitely. Yeah. I just don't know, man. So when I wake up in the morning, I don't see anything other than like my son and my family, my wife, and like how I can make everything in our lives better. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's your choice whether or not you let in the negativity. And there's definitely an extraordinary amount of negativity to be found in this entire hobby. I've personally have dove straight into it intentionally because I want to understand it. And I think I've got a good understanding of it and kind of what started it and now what drives it. I'm
the same way, man. Like I ask questions, right? I talked to one person and I asked the question, why do you think they're bad? Someone's a bad person or they're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And they talk about it and definitely I like to be open for both things. Okay.
Sure.
but I'll never pigeonhole my train of thought or my thinking for because I think a different way. I'll always ask questions. I'll always take both sides, and then kind of once I have all the information, make a decision. But yeah.
It's a hairy situation. Like I've spent time and effort trying to figure out a way to help heal this community effectively. Like, you know, how do we take what we have now in this toxic place, and because it can be and is mostly a very toxic place. And it's not, you know, and you got to remember, it's not just like the Rotor Riot official community group. It's not Rotor Riot. It's not just TBS and the TBS lounge, and like, it's the whole thing taken together is broken into these small camps of tribes, right? And if you order from RDQ, then you're not going to order from Puraflip. And if you are if you fly all TBS gear, then you're certainly not going to buy from RDQ, because RDQ can't even sell it, right? And I mean, it's just, you know, if you're in the Rotor Riot official community group, then obviously enemy number one is Rotor Riot. And, you know, my hope, and maybe it's a pipe dream, is that people can kind of, at least while this whole FAA thing hangs over our heads, is take a step back, take a deep breath, and realize that, like, we have a larger thing to fight for right now. And if we can't unite in some fashion, then the hobby as we know it is over in 2 to 3 years, right? Here in the US. And there's a very good chance that if it happens in the US, it'll start happening elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so
I think Canada follows the guidelines of the FAA pretty closely, but we have Transport Canada.
Yeah.
At the start, it was we were actually way more strict than you guys were.
You were.
And then it's totally flipped, and now we're really laxed about it and everything. But
the community is divided. I mean, I hear day in and day out about who are the terrible people and who are the good people, and it just goes on and on and on. What's interesting to me is that when you get just about everyone one-on-one, or even in a small group, everybody's really great. Then they get into a large group setting and something happens. I like Seth Egan and Lance Wolf and Chad Capper and Drew Camden and all of these other people that everybody seems to vilify. And I've talked with each of them one-on-one, and each of them one-on-one is actually at least pleasant to talk to, and probably a relatively nice person. I mean, obviously I can't see inside somebody's head. Maybe there's, you know, a bunch of crazies out there, but my experience has been good. If Matty could bring health and healing to this community, I think that'd be great. I think that it's necessary if we're going to survive. Who knows? We'll see. In our next episode, we talk about the FAA, which, by the way, directly relates to the community, because if the community is divided, then we're never going to represent ourselves in front of the FAA very well. So I'll leave you guys to see it. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.